getting comfortable with what it means to be recording yourself, and to be getting comfortable with some of the ways to accomplish that, and also learning some of the tips and tricks to like maybe make it even better than what you've been seeing online with what it. We're going to be looking at some real world examples, both in terms of like screenshots from other groups that have recorded. We're going to be talking about some like techniques, but we're not really going to be getting gear specific. I'm not going to tell you to buy any certain specific thing. It's more about using what you've got. And without further ado, we're going to dive in here. Eric, I'm wondering if I can share my screen. Let's see. Let's just zoom in here. All right, let's give it a try. Not yet. I'm going to talk about it. There's not actually that much to look at. So the first thing I want you to know is that it's okay to be like kind of overwhelmed by recording. It's a completely different skill set. It's not something that anybody has taught you. It's not integrated into our music education. So if you're looking at a phone, you're looking at a virtual choir and you're just going, huh, what do I have to do? Don't worry, just take baby steps there and make sure that in the same way that you practice your singing, you practice your piece, you're also practicing recording. So what I'd like you to do is as you rehearse every single time, set up your phone, set up your tablet, set up your microphone. Please practice practicing recording. You can get kind of scared when you finally get ready to record and you see this phone there or you see this microphone there. Anything that's different from the way that you record, from the way that you practice, is going to throw you off. And you might even go so far as to like, I always like to rehearse in a certain shirt. So I'm going to rehearse in the shirt that I'm going to wear for the virtual choir. Or you might know, hey, I'm really my sharpest at 7 o'clock at night. Well, if that's your best time, try and rehearse then, and then try and record then. Some of the other considerations that are sort of unique to doing a recording is that you want to find a time and a space that's quiet. If you can incorporate that into a way that you rehearse, that's great, because that way you've established a routine. Your body, your brain, your voice has developed a muscle memory, a space memory, and a time memory. You want to be rehearsing in full takes. If you've just been working spots, you've been working sections, you've been working phrases, and then you sit down to record your virtual choir, but you haven't really been running through it and you haven't been recording, well, suddenly that's different. That's not what you rehearsed. So a lot of the preparation for a virtual choir and for recording in general is to make sure that you're rehearsing it in the same way that you're going to record it. That is your workflow, that includes the gear, and that includes just like thinking of the same things and getting into the same mindset every single time. There are a couple practical considerations for recording, and that is like, are you wearing comfortable clothes? Are you wearing any earrings that make noises? Has your phone screen been cleaned? You know, just like wipe it so it's not so smudgy. Are the dogs somewhere where they're not going to make noise? Are the kids somewhere where they're not going to make noise? You want to listen in the room for any extraneous noises. So we're talking a ceiling fan, we're talking a heater system, or even when I've recorded, I've had to unplug my refrigerator because it might turn on and go. So if you do that, just make sure you plug it back in. But these are things you can do to basically turn your space into a recording studio. And let's see. Also, be sure to sleep, be sure to eat food. There are like so many basic things that you should do to prepare yourself for a concert that will also prepare you for a recording. But just like practicing the songs, practicing your voice, your instrument, by the time you get to do the recording and you're ready to hit record, you actually have should have already recorded a whole bunch of times. You already should have checked your video a whole bunch of times. So that's the main thing about prep, is just do it now. Don't wait till you're feeling ready to record. Just go ahead and record when you're not ready. It's okay to just delete that material. Maybe just listen to 10, 15 seconds of your rehearsing and be like, okay, yeah, I think I need to work on something. Or um, actually listen all the way through, because you'll learn musically about some things that you're doing that you might not notice. You also might notice if you shift a lot or if you frown in between. When you're on video, it's like you're on stage, but even closer and even clearer. So you want to be aware of like your mannerisms, what you're doing with your face, and making sure that you're performing in a way that serves the music and is going to reach out
That's really helpful.
and resonate.
I generally frown when I'm singing anyway, so that's definitely good advice.
Okay, so let's actually dig into some of like the tech stuff about how to do this. Um, but I'm going to deviate a little bit. I want to tell you a little bit about why recordings are important. Okay, because you're like, great, we're doing this virtual choir. Like, okay, I'm kind of a little bit excited, but there's huge, huge, huge power in recordings, and I just want to share it. So let me see if I can share screen here. Okay, I can share. Okay, share, present. All right, y'all heard of the Berlin Philharmonic, of course, and you know, top 1, top 5 orchestra in the world. They sell 300,000 tickets per year, which is a lot. And that goes to 100,000 people. So they're performing to a good amount of people. A lot of people come, I guess, 3 times. And on their digital concert hall, they reach 280,000 people per week. So on the internet, they're reaching as many people per week as they do in an entire year. Or, I mean, really, if they're reaching 100,000 people in the audience, they're reaching 3 times as many people per week. That's incredible. So you ask yourself, who are you hearing when you tune into the digital concert hall? Are you hearing that room? Are you hearing the acoustician or the conductor? No, you're really hearing the folks that were involved in the recording, that are able to change the balance, change the perspective, and are endeavoring to share the orchestra as best they can, but their thumbprint is on there. And this is true for you too, and for other groups. So New York Phil, in person, 500,000. Hey, that's like a lot more than the Berlin Phil. But on the radio, 36 million. So their electronic presence, their media presence, their recorded presence is actually the primary way that folks have experienced these groups. And this is true even for like small groups, like one person. Vanessa Varela had a fantastic recital that had 15 people there. 15 very enthusiastic audience members, but look at those views. She has over 500,000 views online. So yeah, sounding good in the space and making sure the lights in the space and playing the right notes in the moment were good, but that recording is able to move beyond the walls of the concert hall. It's able to reach family, friends, cousins, just like everybody in the community, people across the country and across the world. So as you think about recording, just remember that like this has power, and this is the way that you will touch a lot of people's lives, and this is the way that a lot of people will know you. And especially right now, they might not be able to meet you and have lunch with you. They might not be able to visit with you at a party, but they're really going to be looking forward to seeing this performance. And you might even have people who are excited about this who wouldn't even normally come to a concert or wouldn't normally be able to come to a concert. So be sure to take the time and figure out how to do it right and do a good job. And the tricky part is it's almost all on you. You're all at home. You have to be the audio engineer. You have to be the lighting director. You have to be the stage director. So be prepared to wear different hats. You can't just wear your singer hat anymore. You have to wear your audio engineer hat, your lighting director hat, and your stage director hat. But what you're going to learn as we go on is actually going to help you. You'll like take better selfies. You'll make better family videos. You'll take better photos, you know, with your family or with your friends. And you'll just be able to present yourself a little better in a way that, you know, catches people's eye and says, oh, that looks really nice. Instead of, I can barely see that person. So let's dig on in. We're going to start with audio first, and then we'll get to some of the video. So with audio, you don't have to have something specific, but there are 3 general ways that you can do it. The first way is the simplest, and that's use your device, whatever you've got. Just one item. We're talking a phone. You can play YouTube and record at the same time. A laptop, maybe you're playing the guide track on your phone, but recording from your webcam. This could be a video camera. Maybe you've got your phone in your pocket or your laptop and you're listening on headphones, but the video camera is recording you. There are just a bunch of different ways to do it, and you can use what you've got. I recommend using the video program on your device. If you use just voice memo or voice notes, those programs are designed to record with as little information as possible. They want to have a super low bit rate, so that's a super small file size. When you record on video, it's actually recording some of the best audio that your device can have. You still want to check it because maybe you have an old phone and maybe it doesn't sound like you. Well, if that doesn't sound good, switch to your computer and try something else. This is about, looking at your options, what you have available at your house or in your family or what your roommates have, and saying, what can I use? What sounds the best? Number 2, you could use a USB microphone. This is something that plugs straight into the computer, doesn't need an interface, just needs one cable, and actually can sound really, really good. Some of them sound amazing. Some of them do not sound amazing. But it's a way for you to record directly into the computer and get a pretty good sound. The downside is, or the plus side, you're not recording video at the same time. So if you're going to use a USB microphone, you either have to be connected to the computer and then having a phone set up to film you, and then you send both those files into us, which is okay. Or this is kind of an advanced technique. You can record your audio and then later just record video and say, mute this audio. And that way we'll know, okay, we're going to use this video, but don't use this audio because you've submitted a separate audio recording that you're really, really happy and excited about. The third way you can record audio is like a recording studio. Even the biggest recording studios are just interfaces with computers and microphones. They just have, 100 channels instead of 2. So if you have an interface, that's awesome. Just know that you've got to have exactly right there. That's the Focusrite Scarlett 2i maybe, or 4i. Yeah, that is a great unit. And the great things about those, you can use any microphone. You can use a Neumann U87. You can use an AKG 414. The downside is that you got to have cables. You got to have if you're going to go record somewhere, you've got to take your laptop with you. You got to take everything. You got to have a mic stand. But it's super professional and it sounds great. So if you want to go down that road, more power to you. And regardless of what you have, you're going to be asking yourself the same questions. The most basic question is, does it sound like me? Do I hear any distortion? The cardinal rule of audio recording is don't hit red, don't distort. Most phones will level out the audio. So even if you shout it at your phone, it's not going to distort, but maybe an old phone will. If you shout at your mic that's plugged into your interface, it's not going to level you out. You might hit red and you might get distortion. So make sure, listen to your takes, which you'll record while you rehearse, and make sure that you don't have distortion. The other thing...
Sorry, I was just interrupt real quick and just say, and if you shout obscenities between takes, don't send the obscenities in. Carry on.
That's so funny. We just posted yesterday a little sample where someone made a little mistake and they let loose a nice little sailor string after they did it. And the team got a good chuckle after that. Yeah, so if you just need a little bit of therapy while you record during the breaks, it's okay. We'll try and remove it. But just know that someone is going to hear pretty much everything that you do. Okay, so we talked about no distortion. We want it to sound like you. So if it sounds really weird, just try a different device. And you talk about perspective. So if you put your microphone all the way at the other end of the room, it's going to sound sort of like you're in a fishbowl, because what the microphone is hearing is actually the walls of the room and not as much your voice. So a good distance for your voice, which may be different from a good distance for video, is just, you know, 1.5 feet away, 2 feet away, somewhere in this distance. It's not 6 feet away. It's not 9 feet away. It just, when you're in a room, you're going to have too many reflections. And we want everybody to sound kind of consistent with a clear voice. So don't get too far away. The other thing is you don't get too close. We don't need to hear your voice right here. You might have great diction, but we'll hear like the spit in the air. And we need like, you know, we want everybody to have a little bit of room for their breath. Okay, those are the big things about audio. And like I said, you can just record on one device, one take, you know, audio and video together. That's what most people do. If you're feeling ambitious, you can record a separate audio take. Like you can just put your phone in front of you and not worry about looking a certain way. You can record in your PJs and you can just sing and you can not worry about what your face looks like. And then once you know, okay, I've got that perfect take, you can get dressed up, you can arrange your lights, and then you can do another video take. This is the way that like the tippy top groups are doing it. So like the LA Master Chorale and the LA Opera, those singers recorded an audio take and they sent that in, and then they sang it again on video. And they made sure to say, hey, this is the audio take and this is the video take. And their audio take may have video too, but it says audio, so we know not to use that video. Yeah, so don't be afraid to do that. If you really want to be ambitious, just make sure you've made your notes very, very clear. Okay, let's dig in at some real life examples here. Lighting is very important. I think you can see me right now. Now you can't really see me. Now you can see me. Now you can't really see me. This is huge. This is a big part of making yourself look professional and making sure you look good amidst a large set of boxes on the screen. So let's dig in here. Let's share. Ooh, wrong, not share. Let's. Okay. So this is the Met Opera Gala. This is one of the first big virtual things that happened. And before we really dig in and pick on anybody, I think it's important to say that everybody is learning in this process, and everybody throughout this year has done this pretty much for the first time. And even if you're like big name superstar, when you like have been around the world and performed, that doesn't mean you've received any instruction or guidance on recording at home. So a lot of people are winging it when it comes to audio and video production. So what we're going to do here is add to your audio and video knowledge. Can you unmute your mics? This is audience participation time. I do not want to do this alone.
Yeah.
And yes, that's it. Guide me to someone who you think maybe, well, hold on, we got to back up. Let's just look at one example here. Okay, let's just look at me. All right, this is bad. Can you see this? All right, this is good. But you know what the secret is here? I'm in the exact same chair, in the exact same room, on the exact same day at the exact same time. The difference is I just turned around. And you can see that the window here is very bright. You know, there's sunlight coming in right there. So the camera thinks, oh my goodness, this is a very bright scene. We're taking a picture of, you know, outside, you know, a giant field. We need to turn it dark. Well, that means you can't see me. But when I turn around and the light hits me, suddenly I'm nice and clear. So keep this in your brain. If you send this in, I'm going to be very sad. If you send this in, I'm going to be very happy. Okay. Let's dig in. Is there anybody that you see here that maybe didn't do a good job of getting light on their face?
Just stay out.
Say it again.
Can we just stay out?
Oh yes, please do.
Maybe third row from the bottom, like 2 from center to the right of center.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what you're seeing here.
Not the worst backlighting I've seen, but just the fact that the light behind her is so bright.
That's exactly right. The camera is getting confused. There's maybe a lamp in the room that's hitting the white ceiling, and so suddenly she becomes super dark, which is sad because we'd love to see her face. Compare her to the two to the left and right of her. I think she has a very professional setup, and she maybe used her phone, but just found a nice big light. Is there anyone else in here that's pretty dark?
On the bottom row, third from left.
Yeah. You know, I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here. It's almost like I think he's in, it looks like an airplane. Maybe he's like the entrance to an airplane, you know. Uh, but you can see there's a lot of light here, and there's a little bit of light coming here, but his face is mostly in the dark. And we want to see more of your face. So if he had maybe walked towards the light and then turned around and let the light shine on him, he might have had like a really bright, beautiful smile. Let's find one more person in here.
How about the second row from the bottom, 7 over?
Looks like this gentleman right here.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. So there's some light here, but it's the light on the wall behind him. And there's no light on his face, like none whatsoever. And these are like good examples of what not to do. And you can see the difference. So compare him to her. And I think she found a window just in her room. All right. So the lesson here, there's some lessons, and we're going to really hit this home, is find your light. Make sure your face is lit. We want to see your face lit up. Not like this. We want to see you like this. And the other thing is, don't have a window behind you. Don't have the outdoors behind you. You want the light to hit your face. You don't want the light to hit the camera, because when the light hits the camera, it says, "Oh my goodness, it's so bright. Let me like squint my camera eyes," and then it gets really dark. Another thing to keep in mind, this is not as important, but if you have a chance to clean up your background, go for it. Now I realize a lot of us are recording at home, so you're not going to be able to have a great big wall of curtains or a concert hall. But if you're recording in your bedroom, make sure your bed is made. If you are, recording somewhere in your living room, make sure you've picked up the clutter there behind the kitchen. It's just a little thing. And you might see later that even if the background is busy and cluttered, if you've got light on your face, it's very easy to forgive. Let's dive back in here. All right.
I will say for the Colby College Collegium especially, we are going to do everything that we can so that your recordings will be somewhere in Bixler. Hopefully a place like Given Auditorium that will not only have an appropriate amount of lighting, but also consistency in background. So just stay tuned on that. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you. And that would be awesome. When you have a consistent look, it's really, really great. There's one gentleman here I wanted to point out because he's halfway there. You can see here, half of his face is lit really, really nicely, but then it sort of fades into like a lot of darkness. And if he turned to his right, just maybe 20, 30 more degrees, his face really would have been lit up. So try not to be too harsh from the side. You can see my face right now. It's like kind of harsh. This isn't ideal, but I'm working with what I can at the lamp at the desk. Okay, this is a closer look at the some of the women in that grid. I know we pointed out her before, and there's one other element here about the video, and that is it looks kind of blurry, doesn't it? Just like a little bit fuzzy, especially compared to like these three to her left. I think that's because she might not have cleaned her camera. So if you have, your little webcam on your computer, go ahead and clean it. Make sure you clean your phone as well. She also did a really nice job of finding the light. And you can see, even though it's kind of coming in from one side, there's enough light in the room so that way she has good light on the other side of her face. Now, this is an example of like what to do. Just go down the line here and you can see pretty much everyone's face. And that's like really, really exciting to me. Everyone's face is here, nice and clear. And what's kind of interesting is that even if you have a very busy background, like check out the outside here or the bookshelves here, you can still, and here's flowers. You still pop as long as your face is lit. So compare these two. So bright faces, and I also cropped it so you can see their chest as they sing. And then here's one where it suddenly becomes much darker, and you kind of have to squint to see some of the faces. So this is what you want to aim for. Make sure you find your light. And when we edit, we'll give you a little support. So if you can't, you're like, oh, my video isn't quite bright enough. That's okay. We'll brighten it up a little bit, but make sure you're just not in the dark. Make sure your face isn't the darkest thing you're seeing. Now, let's talk a little bit. We're going to move beyond light a little bit here, and I want to point out some of the differences between these submissions. So have you ever done a selfie that you're going to send a friend a selfie and you like get it really close and then you notice that your face is kind of distorted? Like it sort of stretches your face and your nose become big and your face like goes like this. But when you're back here, suddenly it's more of a natural perspective. It looks like someone you would meet. It's a great portrait. You can figure out your good side, your bad side. Well, you can see some of the results of that in this. So these two singers right here recorded with the phones closer to them, like maybe just barely arm's length. And you can see that their faces stretch just a little bit. But if you look to the right here, they got their phones farther away. And so it's much more like a natural portrait, a natural representation about the proportions of the face. So this brings up something a little bit tricky, because I said that the best distance for an audio recording is, kind of within arm's length, but the best distance for a video recording is a little bit farther away than that. So you can choose for yourself. If you're just doing one take on one device, just make sure your camera gets back far enough so that way we have space above your head and it goes down maybe to your belly button or just below your chest. And that should get a good sound in your voice and should give a natural look for the video. What you don't want to do is you don't want to record a video like this, because there's no way for us to zoom out when your face is cut off like this. But when you're like this, we can zoom in, we can cut it, and then there you are, nicely fit, just like everyone else. Okay, back in here. This is your quiz. Please unmute your mics and tell me what you see here. As professional lighting designers, tell me a bit about what you think.
She's facing away from the window.
That's exactly right. She's facing away from the window. What else do you see?
They tried to put lighting on her face, but it didn't really work that well because the light from outside is still brighter.
That's exactly right. Yeah, because you can see there's like light hitting her face and it's even casting a shadow here, but it's nothing compared to the outside. So just because you got a lamp in your room doesn't mean it's going to be as powerful as just a nice big window. Anything else you see light-wise?
The accompanist is in the dark.
Yeah, well, it's kind of in a mix. Because like her face is in the dark, but what about her shoulder? It's almost like the accompanist show. She's shining like a little bright star in the background there. When really, like if you were to just redo this whole thing, you would want your soloist to be the brightest here, your featured performer, and your collaborative pianist to also be like a little bit lit. And I'm sure they'd like some light on their music as well. And you wouldn't want a giant window behind them. So this is totally confusing the camera. And it's like, yeah, you just can't see your face that much. And there's also a color difference because outside light is different than inside light. So if you can, you want to just get all outside light or all inside light. Let's move on. Okay, director, videographer. This is our new hat to wear. Generally speaking, and this is like both with virtual choirs and beyond, you want to put yourself in the middle, of course. And you don't want to sway too much, because if we put a box that's like this and then you're going in and out, suddenly we're losing you. I don't know if you guys can see that when I do that, but not too far away, but not too close. Please leave some space above your head. And I think it's great to record down to your chest or below, because singing isn't just about your voice. It's about your face, your shoulders, your breathing. It all that energy comes out to the audience. I mean, think of like Care Bears. Y'all are basically Care Bears. So I want to see some of that energy.
Perfect on International Bring a Stuffed Teddy Bear to Work Day.
Oh, it is?
It is.
Okay. I wish I had something here. Film on your level. So let's see. I bet I can do this. Don't put your microphone, your camera on like a music stand and record like this. Let's see. Stop share. Because this is like looking up at you, which is like probably not your best angle, but also isn't the normal way we interact with each other. Maybe if you're very short, or maybe if you're very tall, people are down here. But when it comes to a virtual choir, we want to equalize the group. We want it to be like when someone's watching you on stage and everyone's there as a group, pretty equal, and they're seeing the faces. So keep it on your level. All right. And then clean and clear, what's in the background. So if you can have a chance to organize the back, go ahead and do it. Oh, okay, real life critique. Go ahead and unmute your mics and tell me some about what you're seeing here, like as a director.
She's standing kind of far off to the side and turned in like this.
Yeah, she's like kind of over here, not really in the center. Like, what is the focus here? Anything else? The background. Yeah. I mean, this is like binders full of singers. I've got binders full of singers, like somewhere in there. There's no real like set here. There's nothing that's adding to it. I kind of feel like it's taking away. Put on your lighting hat. Tell me what you see.
The background has more light than her face.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes me sad. It looks like she did a really good job. Like, look at this outfit. This is awesome. I'm gonna give A+ to her costume designer hat, but A- to lighting, because the brightest light is here on the binders and on the back wall, and we really want to see her face.
And we also want to hear her because Elena Garange is awesome, and it's too bad if sometimes the videos you get distracted, like you miss out on the artistry because you're distracted by some other sort of extraneous element.
Yeah, and as I said, this is everyone figuring out their way. We're just trying to learn from some of the trailblazers who went first. All right, how about this? Put on your director hat. What do you see?
Too much light on the right side of her face.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of, it's pretty harsh light right here. How's the framing? And by the way, I can't see all y'all, and I don't know your names, so please participate. Don't just sit there and let everybody else. I want to hear like some variety here.
I'd say it's a little blurry and a little close, maybe.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's hard to tell if the blurry might be the bit rate, like it might just be internet pixelation, but it's a great reminder to always clean your camera. I do that like every time I take a picture, like I look and then I go, huh? And then I clean again, I go, there we go, it's much better. And we're missing a lot of her body language because she just got us her head. And we don't want the head, we want more of the body. We want to see the breathing. We want to see the energy coming out. And there's just like a little bit of a hint here. I don't know if it's just the way she has her head, but it looks like her phone may be a little bit lower than she is. So I kind of feel like I'm looking up at her a little bit. So I would change that. All right, this was just fun. This is very much not a virtual choir, but like they put up lights, they did staging, they got costumes, they closed the curtains, like maybe there's daylight out there. So they obviously like put their time in so they could look cool and have fun. So please have fun with what you're doing.
But they're not wearing masks, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's 6 feet here. Maybe he stayed up on the ladder. I'm a little worried for the piano here. I don't know where he put his mic, where he put his foot. Okay, and let's get right. Yeah, let's keep going here. We've got a little bit more time. Okay. What I like about this, and this is really for the students here, because this is thinking beyond virtual choir world. This is thinking when you record yourself, how do you want to frame it? Okay. I love what he did here. He's got knees all the way above his head. So you can see his hands, you can see his chest, you can see his face is clearly lit. There's some light coming from the side. They blocked out the windows to get rid of the light. So if you're doing something for yourself, this is a great image to remember. Go ahead and like screenshot it, but you just see everything about him. If you're doing a virtual choir, you don't have to be this far away. You could do waist up, just like this. Or you could do more like belly button up, just like that, and you look fabulous. Okay, directors, tell me what you see.
Don't see the top of her head.
Yeah, I really miss the top of her head. I do. Lighting directors, tell me what you see.
It looks like most of the light is on her body and not as much on her face.
Yeah, so I think she in her room found some light, but between cutting off her head and maybe not standing in quite the right spot, her dress is really popping. It's nice and bright. It looks beautiful. Her hands are getting a lot of light. But really, our focus for a virtual choir and even a performance should be up here. So now that we've been through all that, let's circle back to like virtual choir world, lighting and framing, okay, as a director. Directors, new directors, no offense, Don, your comments are awesome. Let's hear from some students what you see here. Talk to me about framing. Talk to me about distance.
Say the one on the top, 2 from the left.
Two from the left. Say it again.
Yeah.
2.
Sorry, I'm forgetting my directions. The one with the map behind her.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a map. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like angled down at her.
Yeah. Notice how she didn't put herself in the middle? We would love for her face to be like right about here, right? So make sure you put yourself in the middle, but not like below the middle, like a really great school portrait. Anybody else?
This is a little thing, I guess, but it's weird to see all the heads at different heights. I guess that's what we were just talking about, but
yes,
it doesn't feel like a choir. It feels like a skyline.
Exactly. Okay, you win +5 points today for wearing an editor hat, because like the editor could have tried to balance these out a little more, but I'm guessing this editor, they may have been hampered by the way things were filmed. For instance, maybe there's nothing below her right here. If he tries to raise her up to have her eyes be here, it's just black space. And you can see these two folks, well, they cut off the top of their heads. So the editor might not be able to lower them down. So this is what I was talking about, not recording too close. If you are like me right here, whoa. Okay, so the video editor can crop it like this, or they can crop it like this. They have room to move me around with the way that they edit. But if you get too close like this, well, there's nothing. They can't move me down because there's just nothing there. So please don't do your video too close, and do it to where you start to look a bit natural. What we're gonna do now, go ahead, Eric.
Christian, sorry, if you wouldn't mind, and you might get to this, but what exactly do you use in order to adjust height or to hold the devices? Like, what is your strategy for that?
That is the perfect transition to our next section.
All right.
Because I bet you're wondering, Christian, you're telling us all about this, but like, what do we do? How do we do it? Okay, where do I put my phone? Where do I put my laptop? Guess what? We're going to dig in right now to see what some other people are doing in some other groups. These are like real life solutions to real life problems. First off, the easiest place to start is if you just want to buy a tripod on Amazon. That's really like the only thing I'm going to officially recommend. If you want to put up those, I don't know, $10, $20, or $30, it's nice to just have somewhere to put your phone. However, you don't have to do that. Let's take a look. These are some super secret techniques. Please do not tell anyone else about them. Okay, this is like top secret. This is called selfie on a shelfie. And you can see the phone here is hanging from a cabinet. And the singer has framed themselves super well. They found some light, and you can see their heads not touching the top. They have room for their chest, and they're watching and listening to the conductor here on their PC. That is ingenious. Next up, we have the bookie. So you want to get your phone up to your height? Stack some books. Use what you got. This is like a MacGyver solution right here. Okay, sacramentary, lectionary, philosophy, theory and practice of group psychotherapy. Wow, there's some heavy reading here. You know it's going to be stable. Bookie and the tabling. This is for those of you that have taller or maybe just have very short tables. You're going to have to stack even higher to get the video where you can watch it and your phone where it can film you on your level. This is called stick in a vase. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it took me about 30 seconds of staring at this picture to realize what's happening. Okay. I mean, hello, Mr. Crab. And then here we go, decorative rocks and marbles with a selfie stick in a vase. And then right here, and they didn't have to get up to standing height because they sang singing down. And as a reminder, rehearse the way you're going to record. So maybe this is the way that they practice singing every day. They sit down. Maybe they're not comfortable standing for long periods of time. That's totally okay. What's important is to find where you're comfortable, working with what you're comfortable, and then doing that over and over. This one I call boxing match. This is for container store enthusiasts. You can see they got their tablet up here. Looks like an iPad, so they're able to film themselves and sing to it. And also, anybody notice where the lights are here? All natural light coming in from behind. They're gonna look so good because there's so much just like wide light hitting their face. If they had faced it the other way, would have been a disaster. So congratulations to our boxing match inventor. And this one is ladder to heaven. So we have a box of chalk, a rubber band, a cell phone, and conductor and music here. So this must be for someone who's maybe, this is our 6'7" participants or 6'5", 6'4" participants. Get your phone up there and make sure it's solid and stable. If you want to get a little more fancy though, this is a chance next to see what some of the pros are doing. This is like a professional singer, Lizette Oropeza, who's doing this every day. And she was actually doing it before before the pandemic. She does outreach, she does newsletters, she does master classes and presentations. So this is one of her setups. You know, she's got an external camera, she has an external light, and she also has an external microphone. So that's pretty sophisticated. And here's one. She's got the external camera again, 2 lights, a music stand as a light stand, and her microphone here is running to a little audio recorder. So if you have audio recorders at home, that's another way that I didn't really cover. You can record straight to that device. Check this out. So this is the frame that she got. I just love it. Look how nicely she's lit. Look out, it's just so easy to see her face. And look really closely. Look at the room she's in. This isn't a pure background. This isn't just like a white wall. This is, you know, shelves with things on it. But because she framed herself nicely and she got light on herself, and I'm sure the sound is going to be great, it looks beautiful. And she's actually streaming to 2. She's like Instagram live here, and then this may be going out to Facebook. And then here's one more shot from behind. So she has a little light here. And these lights, if you want to find them, they're also available from Amazon and B&H and many other stores. And they are also not very expensive. Here she's using a shotgun mic, which is a way to get a closer sound when being a little farther away. So fireworks, that's what I'm hoping for from you guys. And now I want to make sure we have some time for questions. So we're just going to stop it right there. And recapping, find your light. Make sure you don't have a window or a lamp behind you. Make sure that you put yourself in the center and you give yourself enough room above your head and below your chest so that way you're framed nicely and you look natural. Audio wise, make sure you sound natural. Test out different devices and make sure you don't have any distortion. Please, 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 no distortion. And don't record too far away because we don't want you to sound like you're just a little voice in a fishbowl. And let's see. And remember to just start recording now. Don't wait for the big day. Just start doing it. Get used to the little light. Get used to setting up your device. And then it'll be real easy.
Can I lead with a few questions?
Absolutely.
A couple of questions that we had from some people who were not able to be here tonight. First of all, one of the pieces that the Collegium is doing has a part where the sopranos don't actually come in for, I don't know, a good minute into the piece. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer a video of them going through the entire track, or would you like us to wait until they enter and then you sort of piece it together from there?
That's a really good question. And is it just one soprano part and all the sopranos are together?
Correct.
Okay. With that, it's okay to kind of skip ahead to where you come in. If we're working with a band or an orchestra, we say, no way, do not do that. I don't care if you have to wait 3 minutes before you play the triangle. Please start with a clap and then wait 3 minutes and then play. That's because when we're dealing with 50 different instruments, we don't know when you come in. We have to get you lined up approximately where you're going to be. However, if it's 1/4 of the whole group all coming in after a minute, it's actually much easier for us to see. So if you can start at the top, that's great. And if there's a clap, go ahead and clap. But if you're just getting frustrated waiting, it's okay to skip ahead. Just don't tell the band and the orchestras, please, please, please do not tell them.
Well, I don't think Eric or Jin are here, so your secret is safe with us. The second question, actually, it's a good segue into clapping before the entry. So with other ensembles that I've worked with in doing virtual choirs, I've had to do this where when I start the video, I clap, wait a certain number of beats or like one that is to sort of signify one full beat of the tempo before the track starts, and then you come in. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and if that's something that you work with?
Yeah. Do you have your guide tracks yet?
No, we don't. So
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of guide tracks, and this is more a question for me or for anybody who's working as a music director in a cappella groups or will relay this information to them. Some people have recorded with click tracks, but other people have had videos of pre-recorded material conducted or guided by somebody, and then they sing to that with the headphones on with the conductor working. What is your preference and what do you find to be the most successful?
There's no one perfect way to do this, but some of the best results have come from groups that have used choral tracks from Matthew Curtis, because we're not used to singing without anybody. We're used to singing in a big group. So it's really helpful to hear someone singing the part in your ear. Or in some cases, great, it's just the piano note hitting it, maybe exported from a Finale or a Sibelius file. So making sure there are part predominant tracks is a really nice luxury to have. Some groups don't have that, so they're just singing a piece they know. Hopefully they know their pitches well enough. But if you can get pitches and have the per part guide tracks, that's our preference. Click, well, that just really depends. Sometimes the accompaniment is the click. It's very clear, the rhythm, it's not that hard. However, if you're doing a piece with a lot of rubato, if the accompaniment really has nothing to do with what you're singing, then sometimes a click is essential to keeping you on track. And we look at each piece kind of individually. I'd say the majority of choral performances don't have a click track because the accompaniment or the per part guide is sufficient to keep you in line. With regards to a clap, there may be a clap at the beginning of their video. There may not be. Just do whatever's in the video. We do it for all band and orchestras because we have to know when those come in. But for a choir, like you're doing a lot of homophonic texture and it's much easier to match you. If it's a piece where there's a lot that's very different between the parts and rhythmically, then we add a clap so that way we know where the entrances are and it's easier. But each guide video will say, so if it says, please clap on floor 4 and it counts to 4, go ahead and clap. And then we might, if everyone sings on the downbeat, we'll have a click. If you don't sing on the downbeat, then there may not be a click because you don't need to do a click before the accompaniment comes in. You just listen to the accompaniment.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
And I wasn't keeping an eye on the chat here. If you have any questions, go ahead, just like write them out or just chime in. Please, if you have a chirping smoke detector, go ahead and put new batteries in it. There are little things that can kind of crop up in virtual choirs that you didn't really think about, but we want to be able to use all of your notes as much as possible. If you need to clear your throat between phrases, that's okay. However, you may be on video. So as much as possible, do it like a real performance. Don't just take like a swig of water unless it's a really long break where your whole section isn't doing anything.
And in terms of like, I know you may have heard a little bit of the Collegium rehearsals we came in, rustling of papers and audible breaths and all that. A lot of that stuff will be picked up by the microphone, so you just have to be really cognizant of that. How much stuff do you do in post-production regarding audio and like the sort of the melding of all of these disparate technologies, because that can be pretty complicated?
Yeah, well, the number one thing that we focus on is just making sure everybody is in sync. Because even if you have, full-time pro percussionists playing quarter notes and you separate everyone, it may not really be together when you're virtually. So the big thing we focus on is getting your timing just right. The closer you can get it, the better. And the same like with your dynamics. Go ahead and work in all your dynamics because we can't really do much about that. We'll get the timing together, but you want to make sure that you have all the feeling and all the musicality. And speaking of guide tracks, if you're just, I don't want to, give you any pressure for what you do or don't have to do. But thinking about guide tracks for a virtual choir is actually different than a live ensemble. Because one thing that's very difficult with a virtual choir is knowing exactly when to come in and exactly when to cut off. When you have someone there in front of you, it's very clear and you may gesture with your arms. But if you were to, let's say, conduct a guide track for a virtual choir, you may want to film it this close and mouth the words as big as possible and the cutoffs. Because then people sing and they see exactly when to cut off. And then you get this very natural recording. We don't have folks that cut off 3 beats early or a half beat early or 2 beats late. You want to have as much of a similar interpretation as possible. Because if everyone else is holding, but you dropped out, well, suddenly your voice is gone. Or if everyone else had really nice, clear diction, was very staccato, then we have to cut your voice and try and move it over. And the audio that they hear isn't going to match what they see because we're not going to change the video. Your video is still going to hold. So the closer you can be, then the more just organic and natural it will feel. And to those who out there, and to you, Eric, who might want to really delve into a completely different art of how to cue singers, just like with your face and your hands like this, it's just like shrinking your conducting and to get everybody really in the zone.
Yeah, it's like Ren Men. I just yell at them and then
yeah.
Well, if it's going to be completely natural, not Collegium, they would all be looking at the conductor, but for CKCS, half of us would be looking at our music and not even looking at the
And as I told Collegium before everyone arrived, Collegium now knows that this is an independent venture, that they do have to rely on themselves, less me. So,
yeah.
And that's actually really helpful.
there's a big asterisk here with any type of video that you prep. And that's when many people record on their phone and they pull up, YouTube, and then they hit record, they won't see the video anymore. So it doesn't matter if you put together a conductor cam. It doesn't matter if you put together a score or like any type of visual cue, because they're just hearing it and then seeing themselves on their same device. So that's just one of the matter of facts. It's just like in a concert. Sometimes you have your head in the music. It's helpful to see the conductor, but some people may not have the set of devices that are necessary in order to both watch the video, see their music, and to also record at the same time. And I mean, the spirit of this is just getting it done and doing the best you can with what you have. So like, just push forward. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to experiment. Folks of all ages and have been doing virtual choirs. We've had 4-year-olds who have done this, and I think we've had folks who are 100, and we're happy to see everyone figuring it out with what they've got, because the way that I'm going to do it with my device is not exactly the same as the way you're going to do it, and that's okay. As long as you find your light and don't distort.
Can I ask a couple of technical questions?
Oh, for sure.
As you can tell, my living room is a little different from most people's.
Yeah.
That's actually the Windsor State Fair where they're doing barrel racing. So I'm doing a green screen. And I don't have a camera on a cell phone. I have a camera. It's a Rocket Fish. It's an old device that's sitting on top of a laptop screen. And I have no room behind me. And this is my recording setup. And if you see when I wave my hand, my speeds for Zoom are really lousy, but it can record 30 frames a second at 720p. So what I'm expecting I will be doing is doing a static offline recording where I can get the full resolution and speed, and then that will be uploaded and it'll look a hell of a lot better than what you're getting now. Yeah.
That's great. I think the main thing for you to focus on, like just looking at your Zoom box right now, you look like a ghost. You are so white, and it's hard to see the features in your face. So you want to play with the lights.
I'm tinkering with lighting.
Okay, good. Well, and that's what you got to do. You tinker. This is what I was doing for 5 minutes before the meeting here, is I was turning on different lights, because I noticed there's actually a lamp back here. Here we go, real life example. Choose video background, none. Okay, so when I had this lamp off and was sitting here, look at how bright my face is. I'm just like totally washed out, because the camera is seeing all this behind me that's pretty dark, and it's not intelligent enough to know that this is my face. But if I brighten up the background, hey, now the whole thing is equalized and you can see more of the details in my face, and it's more natural in conjunction with the lamp that's right here on the desk. So Ken, I think you'll do the same thing.
If I turn on the room light, it looks terrible. I've done that before. I've got a light over here to my right shining on the side of my face, and I put this other one over on the left side.
I'd also like to ask you all a favor. I don't know if you have a listserv for class or a group chat or like Blackboard or Canvas. But as you record yourself at home, maybe you're the first person to do it, take a picture of yourself. Like go ahead and say, hey, check out my setup. Like, look at what I did. Send that to the group, because that's gonna inspire other people, and they'll be like, oh, cool solution. Maybe I'm gonna try that. Or they may just be like, hey, that's really cool, way to go. They'll just cheer you on. So don't be alone when you do this. Don't be alone through this process. You don't want to get surprised all the way at the end. You want to actually do this in community. And a big part of the way you're going to do that is to like, hey, just share photos. Say like, hey, this phrase is really hard. I'm struggling with this. What do you think? Or hey, like, check out my cool setup. Go ahead and do this in community. And many of the pictures that I have and that I share were from singers that were sharing with each other. They're all bragging. They're like, look, I'm doing it. Look, I'm doing it. No, look, I'm doing it. Check out my cool ladder. Check out my stick in a vase. Like, just go for it and do it together.
I had a quick question. So often when like you're recording stuff like this, you either have like your music up on the screen or you have your music like to the side or something like that. Like, I guess my question is like, how weird does it look when you're not looking directly into the camera, or should you never look directly into the camera? Like, what
Mm-hmm.
the best way to do
It's
that?
great to look directly at the camera because that's when you can get the strongest Care Bear effect. And if you're doing this like I'm doing, and then looking to the side as you sing, that's kind of noticeable when it's that big. However, if I'm to sing here and I'm just singing like maybe 8 inches to the left, it still looks okay, right? I'm pretty close. So if you have your phone next to like a tablet, that should be okay. Or let's see, getting back to this right here. Look at the phone here is right on the same spot as the laptop. So that's close enough. If the music were here and your phone was kind of overlapping a little bit, that's pretty close. You just don't want to look like you're distracted, paying attention to somewhere else. And if everybody else is looking straight, we don't want you to be like this. You can kind of get away with it like that. I'm not looking at the webcam right now, but it's pretty close. And then the other way around that is if you actually do a separate audio recording. So go ahead, do your video, like, just turn on your video, but just hold the music, like have the music right there, sing it, get your perfect musical take, and then go, great, I've got my perfect musical take. Now I'm going to get the right outfit. I'm really going to focus. And then you can sing, and you don't even have to worry about like if you hit the right pitch. Like you just have to exude stage presence. And I mean, hey, this is different than singing in a choir because like normally you're on stage and you get one chance and that's it. But it's not different from being a professional singer who's picking up studio gigs where like, hey, you have to do a take in studio that's just audio, sounds fabulous. And maybe you do it 3 times and the third take was the best. And then later you do a photo shoot or you do a video and that happens down the line. So this type of workflow is like real professional workflow if you want to split it up. And that way you don't have to worry about like looking at the music exactly as you look at the camera.
I will say I have something of a technical background. Still, I find this a bit daunting.
Yeah. I'm a full-time professional recording engineer. And if it's been like 2 weeks since my last gig, I'm like nervous about the next gig. I'm like, oh my goodness, how do I do it? how do I get everything out? Like the whole puzzle piece of getting it set up. So that's totally normal. Don't get down on yourself. You just have to like put one foot in front of the other and get there one little connection at a time.
As somebody who's pretty active on the professional music scene and has been used to going weekend to weekend in different places, singing with different ensembles and getting the sociability that is, working with friends and colleagues and all of that. It is a totally different dynamic, of course, when you're doing this one-on-one, and especially, and by one-on-one I mean you and your device, and it can be pretty disheartening, and it is kind of a bummer. And then there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of self-evaluation, and I think about people in ensembles that are in ensembles, vocal ensembles especially, because they don't want to listen to their own voice. They would rather just sing with other people, and that's why they do it. And I think good humor is really going to get us through this sort of a situation, and know that the ends really do justify the means here. For the Collegium, I know that you all have some like secret, sneaky group chat. I think Christian's advice about just being a support system for each other as you're going through this process is going to be really important. And so, anything that you can do to encourage each other and to, send some good cheer, some good laughs and some inspiration, knowing that, hopefully this is, let's just say, I think this is going to be a way of the future. in a way that people will be doing a lot of these sorts of recordings. But there will be live music again too, and it will be sooner, hopefully, than later. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. And when there is live music, we'll have Christian record that just as much as the videos that we're producing right now. So that's where we are. So we should probably wrap this up, but any last questions for Christian before we depart for the evening?
One technical question about room acoustics.
Mm-hmm.
The room is what it is, but if there's something I could or might want to do.
Yeah, I can actually hear on Zoom when you leaned back and pointed your face up, sort of just away from the computer, away from the mic. I
This
heard
sort of
more
thing.
of the room. And I think you might actually be able to notice that here. So I'm going to back up. Notice how roomy my voice is. You're not really hearing the direct sound so much. But if I get here and I'm speaking the same, suddenly it's nice and clear. So for your audio, you don't want to be too far away, because the farther away you get, the more it's just a bunch of reflections and not like a clear sound. Now, we're not going to keep your voice this clear and present. We're going to smooth it over, and we're going to add some reverb, and we're going to make it sound like you're singing in the chapel. But you don't want to be the one voice that sounds like you're in a little box while everyone else sounds nice and clear, kind of within arm's length. So yeah, if you can deaden your room, that's typically better, like, than having a very live room.
Great. Well, Christian, thank you so much for coming in on a Wednesday to chat with all of us, and thank you all for being here tonight. To those who are on the Choirs at Colby YouTube page watching this as well, thank you for joining there. And if you have any questions, I'll be sure to go back to the comments and relay them to Christian. Collegium, I will see you next week, and we'll carry forth, and I'll give you some information about how we're going to proceed with that. And Chorale will do the same on Tuesday of next week. So thank you all very much. Thanks to Christian.
Thank you. Good luck,
Thank you.
everyone. I'll catch you later. Looking forward to seeing all the submissions.
All right. Thanks all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Ta.